You pick up your phone. You didn't decide to. Your thumb just moved. One video ends and another begins before you even feel the choice happen. You tell yourself you'll stop after this one. You don't. But the real answer for why is far stranger than weak willpower. It's not about your phone at all. It's about a hunger that's 2 million years old. Your brain doesn't know what a phone is. It has no category for it. As far as your oldest instincts are concerned, that glowing rectangle in your hand is a bush. Not literally, but functionally, yes. A bush that might have berries on it, or might not. And your brain has been built generation after generation to check. Here's the mechanism. Deep in your midbrain sits a small cluster of neurons that release dopamine. For decades, people assumed dopamine was the pleasure chemical, the reward you feel when something good happens, but that turns out to be wrong. Kent Berridge, a neuroscientist at the University of Michigan, spent years running experiments that separated two things people had always lumped together: wanting and liking. He found they run on almost entirely different systems in the brain. Liking is quiet. It's satisfaction. It doesn't need much dopamine at all. Wanting is loud. It's the itch. And dopamine fuels the itch, not the reward. This matters more than it sounds like it should, because it means the chemical driving you to check your phone again isn't the chemical of enjoying what you find. It's the chemical of anticipating it. You're not scrolling because the last video made you happy. You're scrolling because your brain is placing a bet on the next one. Now rewind 2 million years. Your ancestors weren't swiping, they were foraging. And foraging, it turns out, runs on the exact same logic. Kristen Hawkes, an anthropologist who spent decades studying the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer community in Tanzania, documented something that reshaped how researchers understood ancient human behavior. Foragers don't walk in straight lines toward known food. They wander. They check one bush, then another, then a termite mound, then a fig tree, rarely finding something worthwhile on any single stop. Most checks come back empty, but every so often, one doesn't. And that unpredictability isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system. Think about what would happen to a forager who only felt satisfied after finding food. They'd stop searching the moment they were full, and they'd stop moving the moment a search failed. That forager starves during the next lean season. But a forager who feels a small pull of anticipation with every new bush, every unexplored ridge, every rustle in the grass, that forager keeps moving, keeps checking, keeps surviving winters the satisfied forager didn't. You are descended entirely from the second kind. Every one of your ancestors, going back further than agriculture, further than fire, further than language itself, was a compulsive checker. Not because they lacked discipline, because checking kept them alive. This is where B.F. Skinner's work becomes impossible to ignore. In the 1950s, Skinner ran experiments on pigeons using a lever connected to a food dispenser. When the lever produced food every single time, the pigeons pressed it calmly, almost lazily. They knew what to expect. But when Skinner switched to a variable schedule, food appearing at random, unpredictable intervals, something changed. The pigeons pressed the lever obsessively, faster, more often. Even when food stopped coming entirely, they kept pressing far longer than the pigeons on the predictable schedule ever had. Unpredictability doesn't just fail to reduce craving, it multiplies it. Does that sound familiar? A feed that might show you something incredible on the next swipe, or might not. No pattern. No way to predict which post lands and which doesn't. You are, in this exact moment, the pigeon and the forager at the same time. Except the bush never runs out, and the lever never stops being reachable. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. A real forager, even a driven one, eventually hits limits. Only so many trees in walking distance. Only so many hours before dark. The environment itself puts a ceiling on the searching. Your phone has no ceiling. Someone built an environment that mimics the exact psychological terrain your brain evolved to survive in, then removed every wall that used to contain it. You're not weak for struggling with this. You're mismatched. Your instincts were tuned for a world with scarcity built into its geography. You're using them in a world engineered to remove every trace of scarcity from the search itself. There's a third piece to this, and it might be the strangest. Your ancestors weren't just checking for food. They were checking for information about other people. Who allied with whom? Who was angry? Who might be trustworthy for the next hunt? Robin Dunbar, an anthropologist known for his research on social group size, has argued that a huge amount of early human cognitive effort went toward tracking social information, not physical resources. Gossip, in his framing, wasn't a distraction from survival. It was survival. Knowing who to trust in a group of 40 people you depended on for everything was, quite literally, a matter of life and death. Now look at what fills a feed. Faces, opinions, arguments. Who said what about whom? Your ancient tracking system, built for 40 people you'd known your whole life, is now aimed at a stream of millions of strangers, and it cannot tell the difference. It fires the same circuitry either way. So 3 ancient systems are stacking on top of each other every time you open an app. A foraging instinct that rewards unpredictable searching. A dopamine system that responds to anticipation, not satisfaction. And a social tracking instinct that treats every stranger's face like a member of your tribe. None of these systems know they're being used against their original purpose. They're just doing what they've always done. Which raises the real question underneath all of this. What happens to a mind built for scarcity when you hand it infinite supply? Nobody fully knows yet. This is still an early chapter. But the shape of the answer seems to be this. The craving doesn't turn off just because the resource stopped being scarce. If anything, it gets louder, because every check still might be the one that pays off, and your brain has no evolutionary memory of a world where the bushes never run empty. Tonight, when you feel your thumb move toward your phone before you've consciously decided anything, that's not a failure of character. That's 2 million years of forager instinct meeting an environment it was never built to survive. The itch isn't new, only the bush is.